What makes a movie poster great? It needs to catch your eye and hold your attention. It needs to elicit an emotion from you. You need to feel something when you see it. Anxiety, curiosity, dread. Something is wrong. A great movie poster demands that you look closer. It should be a shrouded snapshot of the film it represents. It won't give too much away, but will hint and warn you of what you're in for. A great movie poster endures on the soundtrack, VHS, Blu-ray, or in a frame on the wall. It's both an enticing piece of artwork on its own, and it's an invitation, inviting you, in this case, to one of the greatest films ever made.
And to me, it just seemed like it was the most obvious thing to do. I don't know why, but it was like so obvious.
It was just the first idea I had.
The Silence of the Lambs by author Thomas Harris was first published in 1988. It's the second book in Harris's Lecter series and features everyone's favorite cannibalistic serial killer / psychiatrist, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. The book cover featured a woman's outstretched hand and a moth flying away. The moth has a skull-like pattern on it and is meant to represent the Death's Head hawk moth, which is mentioned in the book. When the eventual star of the film adaptation, Jodie Foster, first read the book, she immediately tried to buy the rights herself, but discovered that famed actor Gene Hackman had beaten her to it. R.I.P. Hackman had hoped to both direct and star in the film himself, but eventually moved on from the project. And Jonathan Demme was brought on as director. Using a script by Ted Talley, Jodie Foster was cast as FBI trainee Clarice Starling, and Sir Anthony Hopkins took on the role of Hannibal Lecter.
Sit, please.
Filming began in November of 1989, and production company Orion Pictures hired ad agency Dazu to handle the creation of the film's poster. The eventual design was created by Dawn Baillie. Now, if you're not familiar with that name, you are undoubtedly familiar with her work. She's been creating stellar movie posters for decades, and has given several interviews over the years about what the process of creating this masterpiece was like.
The Death's Head moth with the little Dali figures in that was something that Jonathan Demme came up with.
Oh.
In terms of coming up with the Jodie Foster image and the way that I did it with the glowing eyes and all that, and putting the moth on her mouth, it was called Silence of the Lambs. To me, it seemed like the most obvious thing. It was the first thing I drew and the first thing I did.
Yeah.
I went through the unit photography. I found the photo where Jodie Foster was pretty straight on. So I airbrushed the lighting how I wanted it, and then I made a mezzotint. I was working on it by myself, and I just did it.
Yeah, just do it.
We ended up renting a moth from the Natural History Museum. Then my comps were all made by cutting and pasting and building. I built it in a traditional sense. It was all done by hand. I was really excited by the font. It was Opti binder style. Like, these are the kinds of things that I get excited by.
It's very layered.
I was really into using the little slashes. As you can see, I put little slashes in between everything on the billing because I'm a nut job, and I did that.
I don't know, it was just the first idea I had.
The hidden figures appearing on the moth itself and forming the skull is a visual nod to a photographic collaboration between artist Salvador Dali and photographer Philippe Halsman. In 1951, they created a photograph that they called In Voluptas Mors, or A Voluptuous Death. It's a photograph of Dali appearing next to an arrangement of female models that form a skull-like face. The models were posed by Dali himself while Halsman handled photography. The end result is an unsettling, dreamlike, surreal experience. The skull could almost be laughing, and the women have their eyes closed in a sort of death-like trance. Meanwhile, Dali looks on, visibly stirred, clutching his transparent cane. It's weird. Its inclusion in the poster could represent any number of themes. The skull pattern represents death, but even specifically female death, which is an obvious theme in the film as Buffalo Bill seeks more and more female victims. Salvador Dali was a famous surrealist, and the poster itself takes on some surreal visual themes, with Jodie Foster's airbrushed skin and glowing eyes, and the placement of the moth over her mouth. Originally, Dawn Baillie sketched the voluptuous death figures onto the moth, which can be seen in the original teaser poster and the movie tie-in paperback book cover. But the MPAA objected to the implied nudity, so several models in full bodysuits were photographed to recreate the skull. You can see that it's slightly different from the original Dali-Halsman collaboration photograph. The Silence of the Lambs was released on Valentine's Day of 1991 and became both a critical and commercial hit, becoming the 5th highest grossing film of that year and winning all 5 major Academy Awards. Best Adapted Screenplay for Ted Talley, Best Director for Jonathan Demme, Best Actor for Sir Anthony Hopkins, Best Actress for Jodie Foster, and Best Picture. If you haven't seen this film, first of all, what? Secondly, it's worthy of all the praise that it receives. Everything comes together here perfectly. The cinematography, the performances, the direction, the musical score, the production design, the editing. You do not want to look away from these two characters talking to each other. I can't think of another movie that does that as effectively. Anthony Hopkins is in the film only about 25% of its runtime. You've most likely heard a lot of his dialogue just in pop culture references by now.
Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again.
Closer. Closer. Please, sit.
Don't stand too close to the glass, Clarice.
Don't joke like that! You promised you weren't gonna do that!
I will do something for you if you do something for me. But there is no Latin expression that would better describe this.
Quid pro quo, Clarice.
Quid pro quo, Mr. Power.
Yes. Squid pro row.
Quid pro quo. Bernice. Silence of the Lambs.
I'd like to eat her liver with some farver beans and a nice bottle of Chianti.
You use Evian skin cream, and sometimes you wear L'air du Temps, but not today.
I could only dream of getting out, getting anywhere.
Getting all the way to the FBI.
Quid pro quo, Clarice.
All right, that's enough. We didn't come here for a quote-off.
No, you didn't.
According to my research, Anthony Hopkins was actually dating someone during production. And after the film was released and this person saw his performance, they could no longer separate Hannibal Lecter from Anthony Hopkins, the person. And they ended the relationship. And that person was Martha Stewart.
Wait, did you date him?
Yeah.
And you stopped because of that?
Yeah. I couldn't, because all I could think of was him eating, you know.
Right.
Director Jonathan Demme actually got his start directing low-budget exploitation films, and he did not forget his friends when he made it to the big time. This film contains several cameos, most notably by Dawn of the Dead director George A. Romero and major B-movie producer Roger Corman. He actually has a sizable speaking role and completely nails it. Back in 1974, Corman had hired Jonathan Demme to direct the women in prison film Caged Heat, and I imagine this was his way of saying thank you. James Gunn actually did the same thing in Guardians of the Galaxy. He brought in Troma producer Lloyd Kaufman for a bit part. Kaufman had given him his start writing Tromeo and Juliet back in 1996. This movie poster is widely considered to be one of the greatest ever made. It had a huge influence on future movie poster campaigns, most notably the poster for The Descent 15 years later. In the film itself, when other characters are talking to Clarice, they're often looking straight into the camera while she's looking off to the side. We're seeing things from her perspective, experiencing the misogynistic gazes and fevered stares for ourselves. Good art makes you feel, and this poster always makes me feel like I want to see this character prevail. I root for her every time, a determined heroine standing up to whatever she can, trying to save just one.
I thought if I could save just one, but he was so heavy.
Dawn Baillie created a timeless piece of film advertising, and also a piece of art that stands on its own.
And now when you're designing something, you have to do 10 character posters for every single thing you're working on. We don't even get to read the script. It's so top secret that we're not even allowed to know what it's about. So,
Later in her career, Dawn Baillie went on to co-found BLT Communications, a marketing agency that is responsible for countless amazing movie poster campaigns and is still going strong today.
I hope that people understand that there's a team that is working to convey the love of film into these kinds of images for people to celebrate film, to really love it as an art form, as a complementary experience to enjoy the poster when you go to a film.
The legacy of Silence of the Lambs has not diminished over the years, with so many sequels, prequels, and TV adaptations still currently being made. But for me, they'll never improve on this original. I'm Jonathan, and this is Paper and Light. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to show you more.
I'm having some of the Academy over for dinner. Care to join me?
Yes, anytime.
Anytime.